Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to the Majeffries network on OpenTTD. Now today we're doing a small but large project, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Basically we're building a tiny little branch line that actually extends for quite a considerable distance. Now it's going to run from Sunnington to Benfingway. If you don't remember where Benfingway is, it's on the northern trunk line. So essentially, as the title of the episode suggests, we are building a branch line that runs the entirety of the northern edge of the map so far. The reason why I wanted to build this line is because I wanted to link the northwest and the northeast trunk lines together without actually having to go into and then out of Guard City again. Okay, at the moment there is no direct link between the two lines still, but there will be in the future. I plan on building some junctions over towards Honningville that will link up this branch line to the two main lines. Or at least it will link this branch line up to the northeast trunk line, and then, which is technically the northern trunk line, and then the northwest line. There is a link at Sunnington. You have to excuse me if you can hear some dogs in the background. I don't think it's next door's dogs; it's some other dogs somewhere in the neighbourhood. But boy, do they like barking when I'm recording. It's almost like they know. But anyway, moving on from that. The name of this line, I debated about it for quite some time. Originally I wanted to call it the something branch line, then I wanted to call it after a particular person, but really that probably wouldn't work out that well. There aren't many railway lines that are named after people. Normally they're named after the places that they serve, little things like that. The inspiration mainly for this line was, if anyone is aware of the east-west link currently being debated in Britain, originally there was a line that ran kind of across the centre of the country between Oxford and Cambridge called the Varsity Line, and it linked up places like Bedford, Bletchley, can't remember the name of the rest of them actually, let me just look that up quickly. Part of it still exists. That section between Bedford and Bletchley still exists. It's called the Marston Vale line at the moment. Why it's called that, I don't actually know. Maybe there's a station there called Marston. I don't know actually. I do not know. But anyway, the line used to run between Oxford and Cambridge, which is why it's called the Varsity Line. For those of you who don't know what varsity means, it's kind of a university term, or it's used mostly in university these days. It's the rivalry between two universities. So Oxford, Cambridge, there's a rivalry, therefore the varsity every year takes place between Oxford and Cambridge. We know one of the events, particularly, it's the boat race. That's part of the varsity between those two universities. I am looking now to see if I can find out some quick information about the Varsity Line. But there's a project at the moment called the East-West Rail Link, which they're starting to reopen it in stages. One of the big stages of that, I think I've mentioned this before actually, one of the big stages of it was Chiltern Railway is now run between Oxford and London via Banbury and places like that. That was part of the Varsity project. Their project was called Project Evergreen, Project Evergreen 3 to be precise, and that was so that they could run services between Bicester and Oxford on what used to be the Varsity Line. So they did a little bit of upgrading. There's a new station at Bicester Village, there's a new station at Oxford Parkway, that kind of thing. Bletchley Bedford is run by London Midland. There's a bit of a mishmash of lines going on over at Bletchley. There's talk about they'll have to rebuild certain bits and redo and rebuild and build from scratch certain aspects in order to make that work out. But as I said, that's my inspiration for this. I want to find out why it's called the Marston Vale Line. In fact, is there a link on this? Yeah, there it is, Marston Vale Line. So between Bedford and Bletchley, there's Bletchley, there's Bedford. There's nothing called Marston Vale on the line, so I'm not 100% sure why that's the case. But the Varsity Line I'm just reading this. It's not really entertaining, I realise. Let me talk about what's going on screen anyway. So this line I've decided to call the Great Northern Line. Because it's great and it runs across the northern edge of the map. That's basically the only reason why. Also, I want to actually make the name Great Northern mean something again. Because at the moment it's part of the Thameslink and Great Northern franchise that's owned by Cavier. And they're not making... I mean, I don't think Great Northern itself is that bad. But this is Cavier. They also run Southern and apparently Southeastern as well, which I wasn't 100% sure of, but apparently that's the case. And we all know what Southern is like at the moment. And the fact that Southern is actually part of the same franchise as Thameslink and Great Northern does make me a little bit worried about what the future holds for Great Northern. So I want the name to mean something again. And I'm kind of doing it preemptively before it becomes meaningless in the real world. So this is the Great Northern Line. And in fact what you're about to witness here is the first proper change of mind that I've had in this map. Because originally I wanted this line to sort of cross over at Honningville and add to the station that we already had there. And you can see I do loads of prep work, loads of demolition around Honningville, loads of landscaping, terraforming, all of that kind of thing. Build the bridges, go to build the platforms, and then realise that actually this would end up just being a huge U shape if I was to do this. And we already have one big U shape planned out over at Warnbridge, so I do change this. I take it back a little bit in just a second. See here I'm still building, and it's around about now that I have my change of heart and I go and demolish it all. Honningville has regrown, or at least it should have by now. So at this point I decide to build southwards and cross over the freight terminal here on some bridges, and we're actually going to go and cross over, I think it's Kingston Cross, I think it's called, the name of that town. And then we go to, I think it's called Sundingston as well. So we end up linking up with the loop line that runs from Doneborough to Honningville, as well as connecting up with the northern trunk route at... right, let me check the name. This is why I have the game open in the background, so I can check little things like this. So there's Honningville. Kingston Cross is one, and Sundingston is the other. They're the two cross points. And it's been done like that so that passengers can transfer without necessarily having to go into Honningville and out again. Right, let's go back to my quick Googling and see if I can find out why it's called the Marston Vale line. Because that's quite interesting. I can't see anywhere on the route diagram where there might be somewhere called Marston Vale. So maybe it's kind of like the name of the area that it actually runs through. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments. But that links up Bedford and Bletchley, which also means it links up the West Coast Main Line with the Midland Main Line, which is something else that I want to use this route for on screen right now. As I said, it links up the two main lines. I'm also tempted to use it, or at least some of it, as a freight diversion route, so that freight trains aren't constantly running on the main line and holding up passenger trains, or being held up by passenger trains. There are two services that will currently use this line by the end of the episode. There is a fast service and a semi-fast service and a stopping service. The semi-fast obviously only stopping at the main stations, and then the stopping service stops at every station. Here's that little U shape I was talking about going through Warnbridge. So as I said, there's inspiration for this was the Marston Vale line and the Varsity line and the East-West link. Now the East-West link itself is going to be quite interesting because there are lots of areas now that have been built over where the line used to run through. So the current bits of track that remain are Bedford to Bletchley, and then a little bit onwards to a place called Swanbourne. Hang on a sec, let me just shut my door. There we go. And then there's also a section from Calvert, I think it's called. So there's the freight line that runs through Quainton Road. If anyone's been to the Buckinghamshire Railway Centre, that line that runs through the middle is the freight line that runs through the middle of Quainton Road Station. And then it runs up to a place called Claydon, and then it reverses and connects up with the Bicester Cord, which is the line that connects the Chiltern main line to the line towards Oxford, and then it goes through Islip, well, Bicester Village, Islip, which is probably pronounced completely differently to how I've said it, Oxford Parkway, and then Oxford itself. For some reason on here it's listed as Oxford General. I think that's what it used to be called, unless that's what it's now called. No, it's just called Oxford, so I guess it used to be called Oxford General. It's one of these cases, I imagine, where there were lots and lots of stations within Oxford, so they had to give it its own name. Anyway, the east-west link will run between Oxford and Cambridge, and in fact it will run beyond Oxford. I think Didcot is where they're saying it's going to start, and it's going to run up to Cambridge. There are certain areas, like at Sandy, where it's going to have to be redirected. What's great about this connection is it's going to link up the West Anglia main line that runs through Cambridge. It's also going to connect up the Fen line, which runs up to Ely and Kings Lynn and places like that. Technically also onwards to Ipswich, Norwich, Folkestone was one of the ones suggested. It's going to connect all of those together, but it's also going to connect them to the East Coast main line at Sandy, the Midland main line at Bedford, and the West Coast main line at Bletchley, and then also the Chiltern main line at Bicester and the Great Western main line at Oxford, or the Cherwell Valley line it's listed as, but it does connect up to Didcot and then on to the Great Western main line. So technically you'll be able to get a train from somewhere like Cambridge to somewhere like Reading once it's all finished. I think that's pretty cool. I think once again I like the idea of big cities like London, where sometimes you do have to get a train into London and then out again, but there are times, especially when I used to go up to Manchester and places like that, where I don't really want to go into King's Cross and then either walk or tube it to Euston and then head north again. And there are other ways of doing it, but it's a really long way. Like, you end up waiting ages for connecting trains and things like that. So time wise it's quicker to go into London. Convenience wise it's probably quicker just to head north and then across. Cross country is a really good service for this, because they do run services like Reading to Newcastle, and they do also East Midlands Trains actually is a good one. It runs from Peterborough to Liverpool, so I could in future if I wanted to do that, but I have no reason to head north at the moment, so there's no point in me even talking about this, to be honest. My Great Northern route is going to be based on all of these principles though. Those dogs have started barking again. Again, apologies if you can hear them. Anyway, my Great Northern line will do all of these things combined into one. So at Honningville you'll be able to go in both directions on the Great Northern line. Warnbridge, it connects up to the Northern Trunk route as well, although very briefly, and it's only really stopping services that can make the change across. Also, at the moment I'm building it as electrified rail, but I do de-electrify it a little bit later on. Going back to what I said about Zest Husky last week, about the small projects being fun. Every single station I have custom built on this route, in that I've individually placed individual tiles. I haven't just done barren platforms, and I will be going around off camera and completing the rest of the stations, but I really wanted this line to have its own identity and really feel like okay, it connects up loads of different main lines, and there will eventually be lots of especially freight trains rolling through, and I will have some cross-country trains that run through on this line as well. But it is really designed to be a quaint little branch line type thing with little DMUs running along. I think I chose the 153s for this, the Express Sprinters. I used Northern livery as well, because I thought I'd make it a little bit authentic and have it as Northern trains and Northern livery. Although I've used both Northern livery, so I've used the default one, and I've also used the Northern Metro, which ironically I've used, well, not so ironically, but mismatched. I've used the Northern Metro for the semi-fast and the Northern for the stopping, because I've used 6-car trains for the stopping and I've used 4-car trains for the semi-fast. And you'll see in a second when I actually get the trains started. Here I'm doing some re-signalling. I actually managed to get the signalling right first time, which is quite nice. I'm getting a lot better at using signals now. I'm really pleased with that. But here I am building all the stations. This is one of the bits that takes probably the longest, I would say. was doing all of these individual stations. Obviously you don't see that because it's sped up footage. But there's a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. I'm not moaning today. I'm off moaning now. I'm going to start talking about fun things again. I've actually started looking at the Reddit subreddit for OpenTTD, and I've been debating whether to actually get involved or not. Some of the threads that I read on there were people looking for series to watch and advice and tips and tricks and how to build networks and things like that. And I do kind of want to get involved, not so much to plug my own channel, but just to give advice to people. But I'm interested in the opinion of anyone who watches these videos. First of all, are you guys on Reddit? Do you guys subscribe to the subreddit for OpenTTD? I don't actually know the Reddit terms. You can tell I've never really been on Reddit before. But is anyone active on there for a start? Second of all, do you think it's worth getting involved with if I'm not already? So again, this is really mostly for people that are already involved, but anyone can answer really. Would you want to see me on Reddit? Because I kind of had a heart-in-mouth moment when I saw that people were asking for advice and series to watch, wondering if there was anyone out there who was going to suggest my channel, and then nobody did. Which is fine, because I wouldn't expect everybody to know about my channel. I would like more people to know about my channel, which is one of the reasons I want to get involved on things like Reddit. But yeah, I'm interested to see whether it's worth actually getting involved with or not, because you know, I want to plug the channel, I want to get more people involved, but I want to get involved in conversations as well about the game. There's a lot of like-minded people I've already found on there. So, yeah, we'll see. We will see. So that was my big question of the day, really, was should I get involved with... Whoops, I'm kicking bottles now. That's great. Should I get involved with Reddit? Trying to get more active on forums and things like that. Sometimes it's because I just don't have the time. Sometimes it's because I don't really have the motivation. But I'm working on big projects now. I'm working on this project, I'm working on the Global Ventures project, and I think I'll be going back to Minecraft soon and having a tie-in series with this, where I rebuild Guard City but on Minecraft, or at least try to, and have it as a fully functioning city. So I'm plugging my own series now, but only on this channel as it happens. Episode plans will be going up as always. The naming lists, I will be going around off camera soon and renaming towns and stations after people's suggestions. So if you do want your suggestions to be considered, then please do get involved and leave your name suggestions on the list provided. I haven't actually checked that recently. I suppose the last thing I really want to say before I go back into talking about nonsense before the episode ends is, after I took my 2-week break, I assumed that my views would drop. And the first week they did, and then the second week there was this huge resurgence and suddenly it flew up again. So everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and not so much on the comments have died down a little bit, but I imagine I've scared some people with my warnings in the last couple of episodes, so that's fair enough. But viewership has gone up, watch minutes has gone up, and subscribers has gone up. So a huge thank you to everybody who has helped that happen. Because I know in the last episode before I took my break, I did ask you guys to spread the word about the channel. And so far it seems to have paid off, so a huge thanks for that. I'm still not a multi-millionaire from it just yet, but you know, small steps. Little steps here and there, and we might make it one day. I'm just looking at the name suggestions again, and disappointed probably isn't the word, but underwhelmed I think is the word. No one's suggesting names anymore. Is it because I haven't taken people's names so far into account? It's one of the reasons why I do want to do a big sort of naming spree, going around and using all the names. If you go onto the list, you will see if yours has been chosen or not. If a little black box appears next to it on the left hand side, it means I've used it. The reason I do that is so that I don't use the same name twice by mistake. So for example, Portstone, Hatfield Town, they've both been used on the town names. Bus and trams is probably the best example. If it ends up black on the left hand side, I've used it. So get your name suggestions in. Best ones will be chosen. The semi-best ones will be maybe changed a little bit here and there, but still used, because I would like to use all suggestions, because I definitely think that If someone leaves a suggestion, then it deserves to at least be considered. And besides that, yeah, just rounding up the episode now, I guess. So next episode, that's kind of the thing I really want to talk about now, getting ready for the start of next episode, because Monday is going to be a bit of a hectic episode. It's going to take me a vast majority of the weekend to actually get it done, I reckon. It's going to be a lot of stuff happening. It might end up being split into 2 episodes, maybe even 3, like I did with the finishing off Guard City. And I keep saying finishing off, but I still don't think it's finished. I still think there's more. There's loads more metro lines that I have planned. I still need to get that list to Reedy as well, actually. That's something that I need to do. Anyway, that's by the by. So next episode, we are going to construct a line from Shoreham Junction to Great Winfield Airport, like I've been planning for ages, which is also going to involve a rebuilding of Great Winfield Airport, so the station contains some bay platforms as well. And then we're going to start working on an Airport Express project between Pinfingburg and Great Winfield. And then, the exciting bit, we're going to start planning our first high-speed line from GSG. Those platforms, those 6 platforms that have been sat dormant for ages, I've never really revealed too much about what they're going to be for. That's what they're going to be for. They're going to be high speed. There's going to be 4 platforms for generic high-speed services and then 2 platforms for railjet services, which I would like to bring back into the map as well. The slightly ironic thing about the high-speed network is I don't think the trains are actually going to run as fast. We're going to have Eurostars maybe and trains like that can run like 190 miles per hour. I do want to check if the Eurostars can run on third rail electrification as well, because I think the Javelins can. I'm not 100% sure if the Eurostars can. Realistically speaking, they should be able to, because although in real life the old 373s had the shoe gear removed, it is still compatible. You can easily put the shoe gear back on. So I would like to see if that's the case, because at some point I would like the high-speed line there to link up with the third rail line that goes south of Fort Flunwood. But it'd be really cool to get the railjet in. Although this goes to what I said, the Western Reach's top speed is 160 miles per hour. I think the railjet is 144. So although it'll be running on a custom-built high-speed line, it still won't be going as fast as the APTs. So that would be interesting. But I would like to get some high speed going now as well, because the game is still performing quite well. I do still have to pause to do building work, but when I'm actually watching trains run, there's no real lag. Maybe when I'm recording, capturing footage, there is some lag because the PC's having to do 2 things at once, and this is a very heavily intensive game. It might not feel like it, but there's a lot going on in the background that you don't see. There's always calculations taking place, especially if you've got cargo disk turned on. So that is definitely one of the reasons why the game can slow down, but it is behaving itself at the moment. So I'd like to get some high-speed trains out and running on the tracks, especially if we're going to start heading south, which is something we haven't done too much. Yes, we've gone to Fort Flunwood, and yes, we've gone to Plintham. I think it is Plintham Junction on the Great Western Main Line, but they're not that south compared to how far down the map we need to go to reach the southern boundary. So we're going to start going high speed, and we're going to see if we can reach the southern edges of the map in the very near future. I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to getting a vast variety of high-speed trains running as well from different companies. Something I haven't really done much on this map, but I would like to start doing in the future, is we've got all these different main lines. I would like each one to be a franchise and each one to be run specially by different companies. Maybe not so much opening it up to viewers. I wouldn't mind if people wanted to claim a franchise, but I think my only rule is don't claim a franchise and then start sending me sheets and sheets and sheets of proposals and timetables and electrification charts and things like that, because I can guarantee you none of them will be implemented. I would like to put people's names to the franchises, kind of like a tribute to the support that you guys have given me with viewing and commenting and creating ideas and submitting ideas and all that kind of thing. That's why I'm offering this service. It's not so much so that people just use it as an excuse to tell me what I can and can't do with the series, because that's not much fun for anybody really, let's be honest. Some people have to remember sometimes it is just a game. It's a lot of fun, and I treat it like a serious project at times, but deep down I always know that it's a game. Anyway, that does it for this episode. We are fast ending the time lapse, so I kind of want to match this up with the right time, but I can already feel like I'm going to go over the end. So I'm going to wrap the episode up here. Thank you very much guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, and be sure to head over to the ideas list as well. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are very much on track to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which is my big target at the moment, and I'm sure there'll be some big celebrations. Also, episode 200 is on the horizon. So if you want to submit some ideas for episode 200, feel free to do that in the comment section below this video as well, because I am looking for some ideas for that big bicentennial celebration. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.